Heroes Among Us. First-hand accounts of combat from America's most decorated warriors in Iraq and Afghanistan. Edited and with an introduction by Major Chuck Larson. Foreword by General Tommy Franks. Afterword by Senator John McCain. Narrated by Lloyd James. Copyright 2008 by Major Chuck Larson. Foreword, copyright 2008, General Tommy Franks. Afterward, copyright 2008, Senator John McCain. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with New American Library, a division of Penguin Group, USA, Incorporated, and was produced in the year 2008 by Tantor Media, Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. The following dedication appears in the book. For our fallen American warriors and their families, who made the ultimate sacrifice in the global war on terrorism. A note to the reader. In creating Heroes Among Us, I hope to produce a book that would help all of us better understand the experiences of the men and women who volunteered to serve in Iraq and Afghanistan. I also wanted to highlight a few incredible acts of heroism, so we might clearly understand and appreciate these soldiers' courage and sacrifice. To do this, I reviewed hundreds of military commendations for acts of valor in combat, and from those selected ones that captured a range of voices and experiences. I then interviewed the combatants and asked them to tell their stories as they remember them, and in their own words. While these accounts are unvarnished and unfiltered, they have been edited for readability and coherence. I felt that first-hand accounts were imperative to the book's success. The soldiers' workmanlike attitude toward death, their inability to accept their own heroics, their superstitions, eerie sixth senses, premonitions, hunches, gut feelings, the surreal quality of events. These impressions cannot be conveyed by any method other than personal testimony. Through its personal nature, I believe the book also resists the pitfalls of overheated prose, of editorializing, of choosing sides. It does not defend or condemn the war. However, I believe it supports the troops through its presentation of recognizable Americans putting their lives in peril for their country. In two instances, first-person accounts were not possible. For the chapters on Medal of Honor recipients Paul Smith and Jason Dunham, both killed in action, I reviewed official accounts of their combat, interviewed military personnel who were there alongside them, and talked with family members. From these sources, I attempted to accurately portray both the individuals and the actions that led to their commendations. More women are currently serving in the United States Armed Forces than at any other time in our nation's history. While they serve at all levels of engagement in Iraq and Afghanistan, to my knowledge only one has received the Silver Star. Attempts were made to interview her, but she declined. Forward. What an honor it is to salute those who have earned our nation's highest awards for valor. For almost 4 decades, it's been my privilege to work with troops like those whose stories are told on the following pages. And I can tell you, if you wear a Silver Star, Distinguished Service Cross, Navy Cross, or the Medal of Honor on your chest, you have my respect. As you read the stories of Paul Smith and Jason Dunham, Brad Castle, and Louis Fonseca, Tony Pryor, and all these remarkable patriots, I think you'll agree. Major Chuck Larson has captured in these men's own words the actions, the deeds that raised them from warriors to heroes. All of us face curves in the road, but our troops face the life and death reality of roadside bombs, vehicle-borne explosions, and ambushes. Our young Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen are very good at what they do. They do their jobs, and they do their best to protect their battle buddies and innocent civilians. This book salutes their courage. Working in a world of uncertainty in the sun-blasted deserts of Iraq or the frigid mountains of Afghanistan, these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines do their work with purpose and pride and without fanfare or grandstanding. They get the job done. They do it the right way. They deliver the goods. I admire them. I've always been proud of our country, but when I see those wearing our nation's uniform handle themselves in the chaos and complexity of war, it makes me doubly proud. From time to time, kind and well-meaning people call me a hero. I always tell them, I'm no hero, but I know a lot of them. This book is about a few of those heroes. Men and women who overcame their well-justified fears and rose above the call of duty. America stands today at an important crease in history. We are blessed by all that has gone before. Freedom and a way of life that permits us to dream the American dream. But we are perched on a razor's edge between this legacy, this past, and a future where fanaticism and tyranny carry the day. The fate of freedom rests on the shoulders of American patriots like those you are about to meet. I wouldn't want it any other way. General Tommy Franks. Introduction. This book is about heroes. It is about valor, honor, and sacrifice. But it is also about truth. And two facts emerge from the stories collected here. War is terrible, and war produces heroes. In fact, the worse the circumstances, the greater the heroics. The Americans honored in these pages come from all branches of the military and from all levels of specialization. From career soldiers of special forces to the Army and Marine reservists called away from their regular civilian lives. As the wars continue, new acts of heroism are being performed every day. This book brings to light a fraction of these acts and recognizes a few representative individuals from among the many. With the exception of the 2 Medal of Honor recipients, the soldiers profiled in this book have seen the face of battle and lived to tell their stories. But talking does not come easily for them. Most granted interviews reluctantly. The main challenge of the interviews lay in getting these soldiers to overcome their modesty and to talk about themselves. Their experiences range widely, but they share a few themes: humility, love for fellow soldiers, and love of country. We ask these men to tell their stories as they remember them, and in their own words. The word hero gets tossed around too easily. A major leaguer hits a home run in extra innings and he's dubbed a hero. A state senator votes the right way on issues of interest to educators, and he's called a hero. I've played baseball, and I've been a legislator. But it was only when I landed in Iraq that I knew I was in the company of heroes. This book is about them, the best of the best, the soldiers who are serving as the tip of the spear for our nation's defense. I've met with them and have listened in awe to their stories. I've been inspired by their bravery, struck by their humanity, and I have marveled at their humility. Over 1.5 million Americans have served in Iraq and Afghanistan in the past 4 years, and in every imaginable way they have sacrificed. Under the broiling sun they've put up with sand in their eyes, grit in their teeth, and rocks in their boots. They have endured long stretches away from their homes and their loved ones. But only about 1 in every 20,000 have earned a Silver Star, Navy Cross, Air Force Cross, Distinguished Service Cross, or the Medal of Honor. Our nation's Silver Star is inscribed with the words, "For gallantry in action," and is awarded to those who conduct themselves with exceptional courage and marked distinction. The Silver Star is our nation's 3rd highest military medal. The Distinguished Service Cross, our nation's 2nd highest military decoration, is cast in bronze and overlaid with an American eagle. Established in 1919, it's awarded by the U.S. Army to a person who distinguishes himself or herself by extraordinary heroism while engaged in action against an enemy of the United States. The Navy Cross is awarded to a member of the United States Navy or Marine Corps for remarkable bravery, extraordinary heroism, and sacrifice in battle against an enemy of the United States. Equal to the Distinguished Service Cross, the Navy Cross features a sailing vessel centered on a cross. The U.S. Air Force awards the Air Force Cross, its own equivalent of the Navy Cross. The Medal of Honor is our nation's oldest, highest, and rarest military honor. The medal is presented by the President of the United States to those who risk their lives above and beyond the call of duty, performing deeds of consummate bravery and self-sacrifice. It's hard getting these medals. It's even harder getting the recipients to talk about themselves. But it's easy getting them to talk about their fellow soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, the debt of gratitude they feel toward the leaders they respect and admire most, and their desire to be a part of a noble cause, a higher calling, or a larger purpose. They come from all walks of life, representing the entire spectrum of races and creeds. They come from America's biggest cities, and from towns so small they don't even show up on the map. They are as different as they can be, but what unites them is their patriotic love for America and their willingness to sacrifice for others. Everyone in this book was willing to lay down his life for his comrades. In fact, some of them did. Living or dead, wounded or well, back home again or still serving in Iraq or Afghanistan, they're all heroes in my book. Ronald Reagan said that there are heroes among us if we just take the time to look. Every time I see an American in uniform, I see a hero. In 120 nations around the globe, 250,000 American men and women proudly wear our country's uniform and stand ready to defend freedom. More than half of them are in Iraq and Afghanistan. They are stationed in lands they have never before seen, fighting for people they have never met, and they do it in the name of freedom. That's another word that gets bandied about too cavalierly: freedom. Sometimes I think we use the word so often we forget what it truly means, or how valiantly America has fought to achieve that cherished destination called freedom. I know we take our freedom for granted. Freedom is our birthright. It isn't something that can be granted, and the desire for it can't be taken away. It's precious and priceless. Human beings are hardwired to want to make our own choices, to shape our lives and craft our destinies. From the day of this nation's birth, we've been the freest nation on the face of the earth. The moment we accepted this gift from God, we gave ourselves the mission of spreading liberty to the four corners of the earth and to the 7 seas. Freedom is our #1 export. Half of the world lives in freedom today, more than at any other point in history. But that's not good enough, is it? When everyone is free, it will change the world forever. As George Washington pointed out, when it begins to take root, liberty is a plant of rapid growth. I was in Iraq for a year, where I served as the command judge advocate for the 372nd Engineer Group and the Task Force 185th Aviation Group. I advised the commanders of the 2 major units on all military legal issues. Although discipline and morale were very good, we had nearly 4,200 soldiers, Marines, and airmen, and as such we confronted many of the same problems a small town of that size would face. I was fortunate to have Captain Doug Hoddle serve as my trial counsel. Doug, a successful Pittsburgh attorney, was one of the sharpest lawyers I have ever worked with. Staff Sergeant Andy Omberg, a Dubuque, Iowa native, was our trusted right hand in the office and helped ensure the success of all of our missions outside the wire. In addition to my JAG responsibilities, I also spearheaded our command's humanitarian mission. We built 12 new schools, 3 town halls, 2 new water treatment facilities, and we re-established a veterinary clinic. Each building project was developed by the newly created city council in our area. For the people of this community, this was their first taste of democracy. Although at times the task was challenging, Iraqis were quick to embrace democracy, improve their community, and represent all citizens. As long as I live, I'll never forget the Iraqi children. They are sweet, beautiful, and smart. When I visited their schools, I noticed how desperately low on school supplies they were. To fill this tremendous need, our command started Operation Iraqi Hope. I sent an email to 15,000 Americans requesting pens and pencils, erasers and spiral notebooks. Americans have a spirit of generosity that stretches from coast to coast. We received more than 1,000 packages from 25 states, totaling over $100,000 in supplies. The children's shy smiles turned to squeals of delight. Each and every crayon or piece of paper was treated as a treasure. In all, we distributed 17,000 school kits. It's those kids' future we're fighting for. Helicopters serve as the modern-day workhorses of the war. The movement of troops, equipment, and resupply occurred 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The demand on flight crews was great. As a result, our JAG office volunteered to be trained and to serve as door gunners on Black Hawk and Chinook helicopters. By day, Captain Hoddle and I worked as Army lawyers, and by night we flew door gunner missions across the country. Before returning to the United States, I had completed over 50 combat missions on a twin-rotored Chinook helicopter. My father, Charles Larson Sr., and I had overlapping tours in Iraq. He was the Justice Attaché, serving as the U.S. Department of Justice's senior advisor to Ambassador John Negroponte. His mission was to help build the new independent Iraqi criminal justice system. As we know in America, the foundation of democracy is the rule of law. Thus, it was a significant milestone when Iraq established the judiciary as a separate branch of government, with the rule of law as its pole star. His team also included U.S. Marshals, who worked to enhance security for Iraqi judges, and prison experts, who stood up the Iraqi prison system, focusing on enforcement of human rights. Because of my work with the aviation group, we were able to catch an occasional half-hour helicopter ride to meet at the embassy, or where I served in Balad. Although we were light on gifts, my father and I were fortunate to spend Christmas 2004 together in Baghdad. In June of 2005, my father returned to his duties as the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Iowa. When I was deployed to Iraq in February 2004, I was proud to go, but I was naive about the Iraqi people. I assumed they were different from me. They were Muslim, and I was Christian. I spoke English and they spoke Arabic. I was familiar with our customs and culture, and theirs were alien to me. Deep down, I may have even thought of them as my enemy, but I quickly learned that nothing could be further from the truth. These are good, loving, and hospitable people. They're born entrepreneurs. Iraqi moms and dads are no different from American parents. They have great dreams for their sons and daughters, and they care deeply about good schools. They pray for peace, and they yearn for a better, safer, and freer life. There is the misconception that because the Iraqi people have lived under the thumb of tyranny for so long, the concept of freedom is alien to them, or worse, irrelevant. But Iraqis are freedom-loving people, and they put their lives on the line every day for democracy. When leaving Baghdad, after my tour of duty was up, I looked across the skyline of that magnificent city, and nearly every rooftop had a satellite dish. To me, that symbolized their hunger for information and their deep desire for connection to the larger world. Information is the great liberator of the Iraqi people. It's easy to forget how far Iraq has come, but it's important that we remember. Nearly 5 years ago, Saddam Hussein and his psychopathic sons, Uday and Qusay, lived like modern-day Egyptian pharaohs, while the vast majority of Iraqis lived in abject poverty and unrelenting fear. Nearly every Iraqi I talked to had a Saddam Hussein story. Each experience included chilling tales of arbitrary arrests, mass graves, rape rooms, or torture chambers. One Iraqi worker I spoke with showed me where government officials had burned 5 holes in his leg with a soldering iron as punishment for being 5 minutes late for work. My translator had 3 cousins and an uncle executed by the Hussein regime, victims of the mass arrests and killings that took place in the mainly Shiite town of Dajjal. Is it any wonder that terror gripped the people of Iraq? Life was luxurious for a favored few, but the vast majority of the people lived in poverty, torment, and fear. Perched in one of his gilded palaces, Saddam Hussein was unfazed by their misery and unmoved by their suffering. If this man wasn't evil, no one is. Iraq has one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. Tuberculosis is rampant. In many areas, people get their water directly from the bacteria-contaminated Tigris River. While Saddam Hussein lived among more than 90 marble-encased palaces, Iraqi children often attended windowless, run-down schools made of mud, brick, and thatch. Teachers earned $3 per month. Today, they earn $280. Democracies don't wage war against one another. If you want to be inspired, watch what people do with their newfound freedom. It's the power of an unchained human spirit, and it's a sight to behold. Since time immemorial, the forces of good and evil have waged war against one another. From the concentration camps of Poland, to the killing fields of Cambodia, to the jungles of Uganda and the deserts of Sudan, the forces of evil have been cruel and ferocious killers. Yet freedom is inevitable, unstoppable, and irreversible. The God who gave us the ability to dream and the capacity to love gave us freedom. When peace replaces war and liberty replaces tyranny, the world will be a better place to live. In other words, in the battle between good and evil, despotism and democracy, bet on freedom every time. Major Chuck Larson, Des Moines, Iowa, 2008. An inscription from the Korean War Veterans Memorial. Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met. Face to Face in the Dark. Anthony Pryor, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, 5th Special Forces Group, Toledo, Oregon. Silver Star, Kandahar, Afghanistan, January 23, 2002. It was frigid cold and the air was thin at 8,000 feet in the mountains of North Kandahar, Afghanistan, when Tony Pryor and his fellow Green Berets entered an al-Qaeda compound looking for key leaders, maps, intelligence, and communications equipment. Pryor found himself alone in a 25 by 25-foot room. It was pitch black, and he was attacked from behind with a wooden beam that broke his collarbone and dislocated his shoulder. Originally, I'm from a small town near the ocean, Toledo, Oregon. It's God's country if God has webbed feet. 9 months of rain. I spent a lot of time in the woods as a kid, hunting, trapping, fishing, and all that. The first movie I saw was The Green Berets with John Wayne. I was a good student, straight A's in high school, but I didn't want to sit in a college classroom. I was tired of that. I was ready for something different. I got out of high school, spent some time in the woods, in the sawmills, commercial fishing. That was getting a little old. I was looking for some excitement, so I joined the Army. I believe Army life agreed with me, and I went about as far as I could go. I did everything I wanted to do, and went to every Army school that I wanted to go to, and some I didn't care to go to. Haiti, Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kenya, Kuwait. All those were places I would never have seen if I had stayed at home and majored in who knows what. I'm not trying to glamorize Army life because the places that soldiers go aren't the nice places. Particularly because of the Christian-Muslim separation, soldiers are hidden like a third cousin. Soldiers stay in bad places like prisons so that they are out of sight. Other countries may need our help, but they don't want anyone else to know we're there. The Army teaches you self-reliance and teamwork, and one contradicts the other. You learn to be independent, and that means achieving through your own ability and skills and having confidence in what you can do individually. Teamwork means achieving through a synergistic effect. One guy can do 20%. 3 guys can do 100% because you have more security, more guns in the fight, more eyes on the target. You have more trust. The Army taught me to understand myself, my own strengths and weaknesses. Everybody has them. And when I go out on the range, I work on the things I'm not good at. Identifying weaknesses and working on them yourself, that's a big deal. I never want to be the one who lets my team or my country down. Second place in this business is a body bag. As a leader, I don't want my guys in the bags. That isn't something that sits right with me because I care about my men more than they'll ever know. Our 5th group's responsibility was the Horn of Africa and the Middle East. Our group was a bunch of Type A personalities, and they were there to fight. That's what we trained for every minute. If we weren't fighting, we were cleaning up after a fight or planning the next one. Our living conditions in Afghanistan were rough. We lived in the mountains at 10,000 feet. We slept in our clothes on the ground around a small fire. We got a bottle of water and an MRE, meals ready to eat, a day. We were relying on the kindness of strangers, and we didn't get a lot of it. Our team's character was aggressive and professional. Al-Qaeda started it with the Twin Towers. We didn't hit them first. Like the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, 9/11 was another day that will live in infamy. When America is attacked first, when we're on the defensive first, we stay the course. We beat the Taliban in the middle of winter. We're in the right. With me, what you see is what you get. I'm direct. I won't sugarcoat it. If you're going to be thick-headed, you'd better be thick-skinned. I never follow behind my men. I led my men from the front, and I'm glad I did. God puts you in situations you can handle, and this one I could handle. I'm not sure if other guys could have. I have a lot of respect for my men, and my men have a lot of respect for me. We're brothers, forever. Some of this may be classified, so I won't say the number of the raid. This was in Afghanistan in January 2002, and it was a raid on the suspected al-Qaeda stronghold during Operation Enduring Freedom. It was our 4th combat mission of the war, a sensitive site exploitation of 2 compounds, suspected of harboring Taliban and al-Qaeda terrorists in the mountains. There were women and children within the compound, so aerial bombardment was not an option. Our mission was to search for key leadership, communications equipment, weapons caches, maps, and other intelligence. It was a split-company operation, and the other guys went in before us. They walked 10 to 15 kilometers at 10,000 feet altitude in 10-degree weather under cover of darkness to get near the target. They got there undetected, which is a big plus. We came in with 2 gun trucks. We brought bigger guns, and, big guns are good. We landed, linked up on the ground, and got our guns up. We drove right through the middle of their town in the middle of the night. It was frigid. We saw goats, heard dogs barking and fires burning, but no people. Not a soul stuck his head out. As we got near the target, I did all of my last-minute checks. I had my pistol, my frags, my knife. I could find my charges. Here was my flashbang. I counted my men. making sure everything was good.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?